Welcome, truth seekers and trailblazers, to the Bigfoot, Wildman Boogers show, the podcast where shadows move, legends breathe, and Bigfoot might be closer than you think. Every week, we trek deep into the unknown, diving into the eyewitness accounts, breaking down the evidence, and exploring the mystery behind North America's most elusive cryptid.
We're here to bring you the real encounters and all the wild and weird, wonderful things that go along with Bigfoot, Wildmen, and Boogers. Whether you're a diehard believer, backyard camper, or just curious, we're glad you're here.
Before we begin, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It helps us grow the tribe and bring even more wild adventures and encounters out of the woods and into your ears. Now, grab your gear, steady your nerves, and let's take that first step into the woods with Jonathan Dover.
Woo! Welcome.
Welcome. So,
well, thanks for having me on your show.
Oh, we're excited. We're very excited to have you here tonight. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Jonathan.
Okay. I was a Navajo Ranger, and a lot of you will recognize me from the Paranormal Rangers. We had to call ourselves Paranormal Rangers because we're investigating all aspects of the paranormal for about 11 years officially. And during that time, we did every kind of paranormal case that you can imagine, including Bigfoot. So we tend to use the term Bigfoot as opposed to Sasquatch or Wildman or whatever. It kind of cuts through the haze because he's known by so many different names. And we just refer him as the name that everybody recognizes, and it just simplifies things. So anyway, I was a law enforcement officer. I had worked with the Navajo Rangers, the Navajo Historic Preservation Department. I worked with the National Park Service. I was on loan to them for 6 months as part of a program to teach our rangers what they call interpretation, which is not language interpretation. It's how to interpret the land and the things that you have in the park. Okay. And then I was also with Winslow, Arizona Police Department for 4 years and finished there as a patrol sergeant. I finished my career with the Rangers after 31 years in law enforcement and finished as a lieutenant in charge of all the Arizona and Utah portion of Navajo Nation. Navajo Nation is 27,000 square miles of land.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's pretty huge.
Yeah. That's very interesting. I think that's great. So let's get into some of your, some of the things that you've investigated before, because I got to hear you in Gatlinburg, and you have some interesting things that you have come across in your time. So just jump off there and start telling us about some of those things that, that you found very intriguing.
Well, our whole endeavor started with Bigfoot investigations because those were very prevalent. We started doing UFO investigations, and we actually had one where there was we call it a ground occupant sighting of the occupants of a UFO. And they were walking around this man's house in the middle of the night.
Oh, wow.
So he was referring to them in Navajo as little children. In Navajo, there is no word for alien, and Navajo is a very descriptive language. So the best description he could come up with was that at 1 o'clock in the morning, these little children are walking around his house.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay.
We've done haunting investigations. Where in one case, 65 coins materialized out of thin air, and they'd fly across the room. They'd hit people in the back or in the front.
Oh,
They'd
wow.
they'd roll, they'd spin, and every time one landed, after it finished spinning, it would land heads up, which analysis and statistics will tell you that that's impossible.
Law of
Yeah.
averages.
Yeah. That's wow.
And
Wow.
I'm going to ask, how many people, out there will ask me how, what were the dates? And I can only tell you that they were all dates, even up to the 90s. They were 14 of them were wheat cent pennies.
Okay.
And
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
see if it's going to toss us a 1943 copper wheat cent, because they're valued in the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Wow.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so we remain hopeful, and we did get Stan, my partner, got one that was a 2 UN Taiwanese coin fall in his house. So we were hoping that
Wow.
port was going to portend us going to China, but that didn't happen. Or Taiwan, I should say.
Right. Exactly. Wow, that's interesting. I mean, so what conclusions did you come to with that, with all of that?
Well, and the last case we investigated was the Navajo Skinwalker. And we are very careful about those cases. We don't encourage anybody to go look for them as thrill seekers or whatever. There are a lot of stories on the internet, and many of them that I've listened to, I found out that they're AI generated.
Yeah.
Because they talk about going through specific areas that I'm very familiar with. And they say, as I was driving down this road, I was passing under the street lights. Well, if you drive that road every single day, like I did for years, there are no street lights. So, that kind of blew their cover and told me that it was a well-crafted story, but that's all it was
Right.
myth.
Right.
So what we came up with, we took a very pragmatic approach because we were law enforcement officers. I was actually a certified criminal investigator, having gone through the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center criminal investigation training program. And as a result, we focused on the laws of legal evidence and what would be allowed in a federal court system as evidence of these things. And that's what we were trying to collect.
Okay.
Now, in 11 years of doing this full time, what we came up with was that these things are actually real. There is an explanation we came up with, which we'll discuss after a while.
Okay.
But we came up with this idea because there were just so much evidence pointing to it. And you have to understand that as a criminal investigator, when you interview people, when you interrogate people, you are looking for micro expressions. You're looking for how the eyes react. Are they getting wide? Are you seeing what they call the sanpaku, or the three whites of the eyes? Are you're looking at the pupils to see how they're dilating, the direction that the eyes are pointing, all the little micro twitches in your face that a poker player would look for.
Right.
And you're looking at body language too and interpreting it. And what you're trying to determine is you're vetting the person that's talking to you. And basically, you've turned into a human lie detector.
Right.
And you're looking for either lies, or we call it misleading statements that are close to the truth, but then there's one little thing thrown in that doesn't quite fit. Right. And so you're collecting those. And again, you're trying to get to what the truth is. You're asking very embarrassing questions. Do you use alcohol? Do you use recreational drugs? Do you use prescription medication? And when was the last time you took it? What kind of prescription medication? You're looking at all of that stuff. And we tell people right up front, the questions we ask are going to be very embarrassing. But we have to know.
Right.
And then after that, we'll be able to say this person, their testimony would stand up in a federal court system.
That's interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because if they don't pass that, then you can't believe what they're telling you. Right. Exactly.
Well, you document it, but there's always that question. Mm-hmm. And you do state that in the report that the information you got could be considered questionable.
Yeah. And well, and as an investigator with the BFRO, we have to do a lot of that too. You have to ask people sometimes the same question 5 different ways to see if you get the same answer to it, So yeah, I understand exactly what you're talking about. So I get that. Yeah.
So we did that. And what we came up with was really, really interesting because we weren't trying to be skeptical. At the same time, we weren't believers in the true sense of the word. We don't like the term because a believer is somebody with no evidence, on faith alone. They say, I accept this as truth. Mm-hmm. We go out and we say, okay, let's see what happens. Show me the money. Let's see the evidence. I was a technical accident investigator and had studied reconstruction for years. And what I found out is when you're doing an investigation, you don't come in with any preconceived idea. You don't talk to witnesses first. You go and look at the evidence and you let the evidence speak for itself. Was it fabricated? Was it misinterpreted? And in an accident, the evidence on the roadway is your skid marks, your yaws, all of your different tire marks, your impact marks, your vaults, landings, all that stuff, even crush damage. And you're putting all of that together to determine what happened. Then you go and you talk to your witnesses and see if their statements set up with what you've seen as evidence.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Right.
So pretty exacting. There were a few people that got really upset because we told them that there was a terrestrial explanation for what they saw.
Yeah.
And they weren't buying that. They were true believers. So right off the bat, I'll start off with Bigfoot.
Okay.
Since this is a Bigfoot podcast.
Yeah.
So Bigfoot on our reservation is seen a lot. The stories go back all the way to the 1600s when the Navajos first got horses from the Spanish. Okay. And it starts in an area that we know of, the first story I've heard of, in a place called Coyote Canyon, which is north of Gallup. Okay. And in those days, the Navajos had horses, and they found a Bigfoot out in the desert there. They rode up to him and rode around him and actually roped him using lariats made out of horsehair.
Okay.
That were braided.
Yeah. Okay.
And so they roped him from several directions and held him with the horses. And he sat down, and according to the Navajo history that the medicine men speak of, it sat down in the middle of them and just sat there, and it spoke to them in their own language.
Okay.
Now, Navajo is a really, really hard language to learn.
Yeah.
As an adult, I don't think you can learn it very easily. And for it to be speaking Navajo kind of leads us to believe, and this is our speculation based on what we've heard and seen, we think it's telepathic.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
because
Okay.
otherwise it couldn't vocalize the words that are in Navajo.
Mm-hmm.
And it basically told them that if you take me to Mesa Verde and let me go in that area, I will not come back this way again and bother you. So they rode with it between them all the way up to Colorado, and they let it go up in that area. And so
Wow.
that's the story, the first story that we had from the Navajos. Now I've talked to a lot of practitioners that have ceremonies, medicine men, roadmen from the Native American Church,
Mm-hmm.
and they tell me that Bigfoot has shown up at some of their ceremonies.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Okay.
Now, the one thing I do want to be clear about is that Bigfoot on our reservation, I don't know about other places, but I haven't seen any evidence to the contrary. Bigfoot is a physical being.
Uh-huh.
He is not a spiritual being that shows up. You can see him, but he doesn't leave footprints. We've actually tracked him for miles, and we're trackers. We're combat trackers. So, we tracked him from one of our first cases where, he stepped over a corral, tucked a sheep under its arm, stepped back over the corral and walked off.
Mm-hmm.
And we tracked him, and we got to the end of the tracks and they disappeared. Now, in tracking, you do what they call casting, which is not to make a plaster cast, but you actually walk in spiral.
Okay. Yeah.
And you're looking to see where those tracks pick up again.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can kind of deduce from the direction of the tracks, the direction they're going. In combat tracking, you might have somebody leaving zigzag patterns all the way away, but you can see the direction that the zigzags are heading.
Right.
So you head that way and you try to locate the tracks again. And sometimes in hard ground, it might just be tiny little pebbles pushed into the ground.
Mm-hmm.
That you're going to key on. And in these cases, we couldn't find any other tracks. So we turned around and we tracked back to the incident location and we tracked the other direction. Again, we found the tracks in trackable ground that just appeared there. So,
Wow.
The whole thing there is that it's just it's kind of like, wow, what happened to him?
Yeah.
Did he get airlifted out?
Yeah.
Right.
How do you? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, where do you go with that?
So later on, in talking with natives, both in Toronto, Ontario, and in Washington State, in the coastal regions, we got to hear stories of natives that had been looking at Bigfoot sitting behind a tree stump, watching them. And as they looked at him, he slowly faded out. Now, we have stories in Toronto where one woman saw Bigfoot chasing a deer. And she says, suddenly it just disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't seen anymore. So, we have situations like that. And we started looking at that and going back to our own experience. Our own experience is that we had spent so much time in the field during deer hunts, bow seasons, rifle seasons, muzzleloader seasons. We've been out there in the forest.
Yeah.
We've had to camp out there in freezing weather. You haven't lived until you camped out and wake up with 10 inches of snow on top of you.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
and or wake up with a rattlesnake laying next to your bag.
No,
Or
Mary Ann is a big thank you no.
no.
and then I was coming out of West Yellowstone, Montana, hitchhiking one time, and I went out in the lodge pines and went to sleep on the forest floor, and I woke up with a moose standing over me.
Oh, wow.
And if you've been around moose, you know that if you make a motion, if you make a sound, they are gonna
Look at them the
take
wrong
it to
way.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like they got up on the wrong side of the world or something.
You're gonna have a bad day.
Yeah.
So we spent all kinds of time out there. We've never found where they live. We've never found their scat, which for everybody, that is just a nice way of saying we haven't found their poop.
Yeah.
Yeah. We haven't found, we haven't found hair samples. We've found footprints. We've never found their bones. And if they were in the area long enough, they would have died and left their bones somewhere.
Yes.
And, we look for that stuff. Bones in the forest are it either indicates predators that have areas where they feast at, or it could indicate other things. Could even be a homicide case.
Right.
And we have had many human remains discovered. And my specialty was archaeological law enforcement. So I was able to look at the human skulls and determine if they were archaic or historic or modern.
Or recent. Or...
Yeah. So,
wow.
We look for that kind of stuff. We didn't see any. So we started wondering, because investigators, you don't want to just report this is what happened and write it up and that's the end. You want to know why.
Right.
You want to know how. And so you start going into other areas of inquiry. One of the areas that we looked at was this idea of dimensions. And now, granted, you go onto the TV today, you go in the movies, you see a lot about dimensions. You see the TV show Stargate. You see, every show has something, and it's all over the place. Yep. Now, in 2006, it wasn't well known,
right?
But we had enough information that this stuff was there. We started looking at the Navajo creation story, which talks about the Navajos coming through several different worlds into this world. And as they came through these different places, a world of darkness, an aquatic world, a world of giants and monsters, and then they climb in two worlds. In that last world and one world before, they came through a hole in the sky, is how they describe it.
Oh, wow.
In the last world, the one with giants and monsters, they came through a hole in the sky, and they say that they had to they say reeds, but they're talking about some kind of a construct to climb up into this hole.
Right.
And they came out into an area they call Dineta, which is the emergence place of the Navajo, and populated what they now call the Shining World, or they called it back then.
Okay.
So there's that evidence. A lot of people will say, oh, this is just myth, it's stories, bedtime stories. It's not real. But you've got the U.S. military in the 1975, I believe, went to Chaco Canyon. And they were looking at this idea of these portals or stargates. So, if you would. And they're out there at about 1 a.m. And these guys actually see a distortion in the starscape above them. And as they watched, everything became rippled, and they saw a hole open up in the sky. And so in my conversations with like David Pilatus with Missing 411, I mentioned to him that I think that these missing people are walking through portals. Now,
Right.
these portals, these dimensions, we like to think of them as walls,
Yeah.
right next to each other. I don't think they're walls. I think they're more like clouds that are going together. And every now and then something opens up.
Okay.
It could be momentary. It could be on a regular basis. We don't know because we can't see them.
Right.
But it accounts for people within 20 to 30 feet of the group that they're with in sight, suddenly disappearing, and they're never seen again.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had a lot of really good conversations with David about that.
Right.
And so, we think we're onto something. We also notice that UFOs, many times when they appear, there'll be a loud pop.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've had people tell me that the pop was so loud that it struck them as a physical blow.
Oh, okay.
And they didn't believe in UFOs, but they looked straight up over their head. And there's a UFO, a big orb above them. And so they sought me out because they immediately looked on the internet to see who they could talk to about it. And then, like I said, we have Bigfoot doing a disappearing act. We don't think he lives here. And then we have the Navajo Skinwalker, who can run at accelerated speeds. We think up to about 80 miles an hour.
Wow.
That's terrifying.
And run alongside of vehicles or behind them.
Terrifying.
And I'm going to give something away here. I had a podcaster that came out, and we were riding together, and we had one run in front of our vehicle.
Oh, wow.
And it basically, when we went back and we measured the roadway. Of course, this is the next day. Didn't go back that night.
Right.
I don't blame you.
Out of there.
But the roadway was 36 feet wide. It's just a single lane, one road going each direction with a center line and the lines on the side of the road. And this thing we determined, using your speed distance calculations,
right?
We determined that it had to have been doing over 80 miles an hour.
Wow!
To cross the road as fast as it did.
Wow!
And the guy driving, he actually got a really good look at it. And we'll leave that information for later on.
Okay.
That you'll have to watch another podcast to get that one.
There you go.
Okay.
But he was rightfully shook up a little bit.
I imagine so.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we have all these things happening, and we started wondering if ghosts and hauntings were the same way. You notice that ghosts will appear. They call it the witching hour.
Yeah.
Which is usually around 3 or 3:30.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, the sun is on the opposite side of the earth.
Yeah.
And so all that radiation that's blasted toward the earth, which our ozone layer protects us from,
right?
All that radiation goes around. But on the opposite side of the earth, there's almost a vacuum that's set up and directly behind. And in this vacuum, we think that it allows things to come out, these energies that were there before. As you know, energy cannot be created and it cannot be destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It exists. It can change state.
It changes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we think that in the case of many traumatic deaths, that energy attaches to
Mhm.
inanimate objects,
Right.
to geologic formations, and it can reside there and appear again, almost like a broken record,
Right.
to repeat or recount
Yeah.
things
Is
that
that
happened just before it died.
is that the what do they call it? Residual? Where it,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. Okay.
So we started looking at all this, and then I think it was 2010 that CERN Large Hadron Collider
Yes.
Mhm.
did an experiment where they said we're going to open a dimensional gate and send a message through, which I really think is a really bad idea.
Right.
You know, you don't get out there and wave a flag and say, "Here I am."
Right.
Right. Right. Oh my
But
God.
that's what they did. And right after that is when all this Mandela effect supposedly started happening.
Right. Right.
What's the
So-
just because you can doesn't mean you should?
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
You know, and just because I park in a garage doesn't make me a car.
Right.
Right.
That's exactly.
Exactly.
That's good. That's good.
So with all this, we started talking and linking these things together. In 2013, we spoke at the International UFO Congress, and they're all about UFOs. But
Mhm.
we brought all these other subjects into the limelight, so to speak. And since then, we've been pretty much speaking all over the place. We even went to the UK and spoke in Scotland
Oh,
in
wow.
3 different locations.
Yeah.
So, but we've been all over the States
Mhm.
and Canada. And, you know, we like speaking about this stuff because to us, it's kind of like Toto pulling the curtain back on the wizard and letting you get a glimpse.
Yes.
And that's it.
Mhm.
Now, I often preface my talks with this idea that I'm Native American. And as such, Native Americans do not have a good history with the US government.
Right.
So we are very distrustful. And so we're not going to wait for the government to tell us, you know, oh, this stuff is real.
Right.
We already know. We've known for hundreds of years.
Mhm.
And you know, we're waiting for everybody else to catch up.
Exactly.
We don't need an official body to tell us, oh, what you've been seeing all these years is real.
We're right.
Yeah.
We're right all along. Well,
Yep.
duh.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, too many people see it. Too many people have things happen. You know, it's like it's out there. You don't need somebody to tell you it's real, especially if you've had some kind of an interaction with whatever it is.
Right.
Now, the big question that I will get is, you know, what about the military? They're saying that they have triangles. They're saying that they have many of these crafts parked in their hangars.
Right.
And they take them out every now and then and fly them around. And people see them and they mistake them for UFOs. Well, you know, that may be. I'm pretty sure the military has been doing crash retrievals and trying to re-engineer a lot of these crafts. I mean, look at Bob Lazar. He worked on a re-engineering program.
Right.
And they're recently finding out that all the stuff that he said about it is actually correct.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, you know, they tried to, you know, say that he's crazy. He made everything up,
Right.
which the government loves to do. And this is essentially why they changed the designation from UFO to UAP, because UFO carries a crazy person distinction. That if you saw a UFO, you are nuts, you are crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And the military and the government held that line for so long that they couldn't actually use that term, so they had to come up with something that didn't sound crazy.
Right.
So
they
they
didn't have
said,
yeah.
unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Isn't that the same thing, just worded differently, though? I mean,
It is.
yeah. We love our acronyms, don't we?
I
Right.
mean,
Well, that doesn't have the negative connotation to it, that UFO has.
to me, you throw the word phenomenon in anything, and it carries the same weight as UFO, at least to me. But
Now the ATIP program that the government was funding, the Aerial Threat Identification Program, ATIP was actually funded to the tune of about $24 million. Much of that money went to Bob Bigelow and Bigelow Aerospace Research.
Yes.
He had his own team of investigators. He had he had the FAA reporting directly to him with sightings.
Wow.
He was looking,
oh my God.
and from talking to his investigators, they said that he was looking for technology from the UFOs that could be leveraged into the aerospace industry, because he had a huge plant. They were making blow up habitation modules for the space station made out of Kevlar.
Wow.
And you could deflate them, pack them in a real small package, take them up into space. And when you got up there, you just had to air them up. And the Kevlar was to deflect micrometeorites.
Right. Okay.
So he was doing that for a lot of years, but he was looking for something that would give him a rung up on all his competition.
Right.
So the investigators that he hired, they were all ex special ops people. Navy SEALs, Green Berets, Delta Force, that kind of stuff. And we worked a couple of investigations with them. And so, we got to recognize them because we had done weapons training with Navy SEALs, with Green Berets, with U.S. Secret Service, presidential protection, a lot of different elite outfits and Marine Corps units. Yeah. So, and I'd consider them on the elite status too. So you get to recognize the operator look after a while.
Right. Yes.
So we saw that, and we didn't question them because they weren't going to talk about a lot of stuff, but we just got along with them and did a couple of major investigations. One of them was so good that when we got done, the marquee in Window Rock at the hotel had a sign up that said, "Welcome, NASA scientists." So we contacted UFO organizations and asked them, "Do you have anybody that can tell us if NASA scientists are meeting in Window Rock, Arizona?" And they just laughed and they says, "Absolutely not. They aren't meeting." After they looked at it.
Yeah.
So, we think that it was just kind of a light cover story for a bunch of technicians to show up and look into this whole thing.
Yeah, the smoke and mirrors. Yeah, smoke and mirrors. That's very interesting.
So Bigfoot is alive and well. A lot of people think he migrates. We really haven't seen that evidence because if he's migrating, there should be footprints coming from the south all the way to the north. We've seen him show up at desert locations. We've seen him show up in the police station. He actually walked. We had a 1960s era police station that has a long hallway with a drunk tank in there in jail cells. And so all the drunks that are brought in are usually tossed into the drunk tank. There's no air conditioning.
Oh,
So during the summer when it's hot, they open the back door and they just leave the back door open. The jailers sit up front where the air conditioning unit is. And they hear the prisoners screaming bloody murder, and they go, "Oh no, what's going on now?" You know,
What?
yeah.
they go down there and look in the drunk tank, and all the prisoners are crowded into one corner. And they're basically saying that something huge and hairy came in the back door, and they said it smelled like wet dogs. And it just stood at the bars and looked at them, and then as soon as they started screaming, it turned and walked out through the back door again.
Wow.
So they don't know if it was a Navajo skinwalker, that wearing the skins, or if it was a Bigfoot. I tend to think it was probably a Bigfoot. But we have report after report, and then we started seeing correlations. Every time we got increases in Bigfoot reports, we started seeing increases in UFO reports.
Okay.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
And the people that were reporting Bigfoot sightings were registered nurses, doctors, USDA workers, forestry people, people that would normally be considered way above board.
Right.
Sure.
And then we had other people that had chance encounters with them. We had a guy cutting wood in the forest, and he turned and looked, and right on the side of him was a Bigfoot. And his eyes just rolled back in his head, and he passed out.
Rightfully so.
So he didn't want anybody to know who he was because he was so embarrassed about it.
Right.
But afterwards, the family said that he will not go cut wood by himself anymore.
Yeah.
Which indicates that something big happened.
Yeah, he had something traumatic happen. Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So we have stories like that. We have Stan, my partner, was doing an investigation, and he was up on a hillside. The next flat place was about 100 yards down slope, and he had a series of rocks being thrown through the pine trees, these ponderosa pines. And he says that you could hear branches snapping as these rocks were hurled up from a lower elevation, 100 yards up, and they were landing within 15 feet of them, smacking into the ground. And the biggest one would have weighed 10 pounds. So that's talking
a lot.
You're talking shot put,
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I can imagine, these trees, these branches just snapping under the kinetic energy of that rock coming up, big hunks of rock.
Yeah. 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 We experienced something like that this weekend, but it wasn't 10-pound rocks. It was smaller rocks, but yeah, they're very accurate with those. So that's interesting that you talked about that.
So we did this kind of work for quite a while. Like I said, 11 years. We had many, many different types of investigations. All of them were gone through. And I want to mention a couple of them here. Neither one of them is a Bigfoot operation, but
that's fine.
We had a woman that reported that skinwalkers were coming around her house and terrorizing her. She lives right on the border, right on the edge of a border town. So there's a major city right there.
Okay.
And she was having little tiny bundles of fur and feathers and stuff tied up, with rocks inside that were showing up around her house. She lives in a hogan.
Okay.
Had no door on the front, had no windows.
Right.
Just the roof and the walls. And when we investigated, she was flagged to us as an EDP. In police jargon, that stands for emotionally disturbed person.
Okay.
So if you get that designation, you know that things could go haywire very quickly. Something
Right.
could happen. You could set them off with a phrase or whatever, and you learn to be circumspect when you deal with people that are listed as EDPs, because they could be scary for law enforcement people, and many of them have been shot out of hand because the officers were not prepared for that response.
Right.
So what we did is we said, okay, and we talked to her, interviewed her about this whole thing, and come to find out that she had been living in a whole different state. And when I asked her the question about medications, prescription medications, she says, "Oh yeah, I take those." And she brought out a paper bag that was half full of prescription medications. Now, granted, a lot of them were pills that she didn't use up, or they were still in there. The bottles were expired,
Sure.
but she had them all in one bag. And some of the stuff she was taking was pretty strong stuff.
Jeez.
So she told us that she had contacted the state police, New Mexico State Police. They said, we don't handle that. She contacted the county sheriffs. They says, oh, we don't handle that.
Yeah.
They contacted Navajo police, and they says, we don't handle those kind of cases. And her last shot was to contact the Rangers. So they sent us out, and we talked to her. We tracked the area, and we found 7 different footprints around her residence. And we looked at all the little bundles and everything else. And what we determined, there's a little trail and kind of a drop off, like a real steep incline behind her house. And there's a trail there, and it leads down at the bottom. You can get into the town.
Okay.
And what we determined, because we saw where they had gotten together on the trail and all stood in a circle facing each other talking. And we think that these were local drunks. They had been using her house as a crash pad for a long time. And she moves back because when her relatives passed away, she inherited that place.
Okay.
And so she was trying to get it fixed up. So we told her there's nothing to worry about. These are just the local drunks. If you want, you can finish building your stuff up, but they're trying to scare you. And so we left, and we felt pretty good about that. And a month later, she called our dispatcher, and she was crying on the phone.
Oh.
And she said, thank you for listening to me. Nobody else would. And I got my house fixed up, and I'm not having any more visitations.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So that's the first story. The second story involves a man that said, every day I'm seeing UFOs come up over the horizon, and they're flashing off and on. They're all in a big group, maybe 15 to 20 of them. And they're showing up every single night as the sun goes down.
Okay.
Or just after the sun goes down.
Okay,
So went out there. Stan took this case, and he went out there. He watched, and sure enough, the sun went down. These lights started appearing. They're blinking off and on. And he took a compass azimuth reading and correlated the information with a quad sheet, and showed the guy that these lights were appearing from a small community that was behind that hill.
Oh, okay.
And what he was seeing was a temperature inversion. during
Okay.
the summer, where you get things like it's like a mirage,
Yeah.
Right.
where
Like
where
the
you see
water on the road thing and the heat
or a ship
thing.
floating above the ocean,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
and so he was explaining to him that because the wind was blowing, and there's pinyon juniper trees there, that the wind was blocking those lights as they were starting to rise, and it
Oh,
was making them look like they were blinking off and on.
okay. Interesting.
Okay.
The guy got really upset because, you know,
He wanted to believe that they were UFOs.
yeah. The belief
Wow.
was so
Very
strong
believer. Yeah.
Yeah.
that in the face of overwhelming evidence, he chose to
Don't
believe
confuse
that,
me with that.
we were wrong. Right. So what that goes to show is that when we do a case, we're going to be very pragmatic about it, and we're going to let the evidence, lie where it falls.
Yes, absolutely. That's the only way to do it. If you go at it any other way, you're not doing it justice.
So I know we're getting close on time.
We are.
Yeah.
Would you please tell us again where we can find your podcast and what the name of it is?
Okay, the podcast is called The Paranormal Rangers, and
Okay.
it is on KGRA Digital Broadcasting.
Okay.
And I have also been I'm now a member of an organization. Oh man, yeah, it took years and years for me to do this, but there's an organization called the International UFO Bureau.
Okay.
They also have a podcast on that same platform.
Okay.
And the International UFO Bureau was formed basically from a 12-year-old kid back in the 60s who wrote a letter to Nikita Khrushchev and asked, what kind of UFO sightings do you guys have in Russia?
Oh, wow. Okay. That's great.
And the letter showed up, and then the FBI showed up
Of
to
course.
investigate him, because you don't write a letter to the premier of Russia
Right.
at the time.
Right.
So he
I guess
formed
the boy
the
would.
International UFO Bureau, and a good friend of mine named Mindy Totfest is the CEO of that organization now and owns it.
Oh, wow.
And I'm the Native Voices director. So any investigations by Native Americans in the United States, I'll oversee those.
Wow.
And
That's good. Yes.
so let me see. Oh, and the last bit of the thing, if you want to see in TV form what me and Stan were about, if you go to the Netflix and go to Unsolved Mysteries,
Mhm.
season 3, episode 5, you'll find an episode called Paranormal Rangers.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And when we agreed to do that, we said, either you do it right or we're going to walk out on you.
Right.
And they came through with flying colors. The cinematography is awesome, and it got a lot of high marks. So that's our approved
Approved
show.
version there, right? Well, that's great. That's great. Well, yes, we're coming up on the hour mark here. So thank you so much for coming and spending this time with us and enlightening us about what you do, because it's incredible.
Wonderful.
I'm very intrigued by it, because I think you guys are, doing things the right way and not just out there, willy-nilly, whatever, to solve something. You tell people what they want to hear, and that doesn't do anybody any justice. So,
Right.
So we appreciate you being here, and maybe later on we can have you back, or you can come to my conference next year,
Yeah.
something
Well,
along those lines.
That would be fun too.
Yes, yes. Because we spoke, and you have family in Oklahoma, and so it's not that far on over here into Missouri.
And the International UFO Bureau is based in Oklahoma City.
See, there you go. All kinds of reason to travel this direction.
Briefer.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Jonathan, thank you so much for being with us tonight. And hopefully we will get to visit with you again soon.
Oh, sure. Thank
Okay.
you for having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Okay, tribe, that's all this episode of Bigfoot, Wildman, and Booger Show. Thanks for wandering the woods of Missouri with us today.
If you enjoyed today's encounter and want to keep these legends alive, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It helps us keep track of the wild and legendary encounters that make Missouri so special.
We'll be back soon with more mysteries, more encounters, and maybe a few surprises hiding in the shadows. Until then, keep your boots muddy, keep your eye on the tree line, and remember, show me your Bigfoot.